Alrighty, so it says we are live recording. I am just checking to see if everything's going. Things are loading. And I think we are. Boom, we're live on YouTube. And it looks like we are going to be going live here on Instagram. Bear with us, guys. This is our first time.
Working out the kinks.
Yes, I think. Maybe you can check on your end, Alana, if we are live on Facebook. I think I see it happening.
Let me see here. I'm not seeing it on Facebook here. No. Because we normally should get like a notification that just kind of pops up and says like, hey, you're live, but I'm on the page right now. Nothing's coming up here.
Oh, I'm seeing some things. Here we go. I'm seeing some things. May forecast. May astrology forecast with Alchemia. It needs a title. Facebook says, tell people what's happening.
Ah, that's what it is. Live now.
Holy moly. Who knew there were so many steps? Sorry, everybody. I'm struggling to get Facebook going.
Come on, Facebook. You can do it.
Yeah. Complete post details. All right. Okay, things are moving. I just have to commit to actually reading, guys. Sorry. Sometimes I get excited and I skim over things. All right, we are live on Facebook as well. Ooh-wee. Hopefully Instagram is working here. I think we have like a funny view. If you don't mind, Alana, could you pop over to Instagram and see what our live video looks like on that channel if you could?
You got it. Looks good on Facebook there. Instagram.
If you guys are just joining us, we are practicing going live. So don't
It's a little bit like just split, like it's like just the sides of our heads on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know how to change that part of this.
That's funny.
I know, I thought that might be a thing.
It's kind of funny because maybe you think that they would know that that is a really bad configuration.
Yeah. I'm going to end the live, I think, on Instagram here. And then we will share it afterwards on Instagram, or we could do it on our phones in the future.
Yeah, we can figure that out another time.
Discard video. There we be. And we're live streaming on da-da-da. All right. Wow, that took a hot minute. Sorry, y'all. It's our first time. We are okay with first times. We're okay with learning. My face got hot. I was stressed there for a second. Ha! The panic.
I think even every live I've been on to, there's always like the first 5 minutes seems to be kind of like slow anyways, you know? So.
Yeah. Don't mind
Now
me
we know
intently.
why.
Yeah, intently staring at my computer screen like my life depends on it. I'm like, okay, I'll figure this out. Don't worry. All right. So yeah, welcome to Alchemia's first live stream, everybody. I guess some introductions might be in order if you have not joined us here on the channel, or if you've only caught a meditation from Alana, for example, or you've only listened to me talk about something random on the channel. We are the two halves of Alchemia. Hi, Alana. Thanks for bearing with my tech inabilities here.
You are such a technical goddess, way better than me, so I'm grateful for you being here.
We're learning. I'm pretty sure Mercury is in retrograde right now, so blame that and not me.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, no doubt. So while we are waiting for some people to join us, for everything to be smooth sailing on our end, I'm going to get into some announcements. Announcements is something Alana and I are going to try and be a bit more consistent of doing, whether it's at the beginning of the Sacred Seat podcast episodes or any video we're doing, any kind of public sharing, potentially long form content, because people often are like, what are you guys doing these days? And we completely forget to share with y'all what we have going on. So our first announcement is that our retreat that we are organizing this summer, Once Upon a Mushroom, Return of the Inner Child. Very looking forward to that. We're currently accepting applications for this retreat. It is going to be 4 days in the pristine, beautiful mountains of British Columbia. If that is something you're interested in partaking in, if you want to hang out with Alana and I, sit in circle, connect, and go on a little bit of a journey to bring back and integrate our inner children, by all means, we will leave information for all of these announcements in the description below or wherever you do that when you go live. We also have a free offering right now. Coming into the summer here in Canada, it is definitely ceremony season. It is warming up. People are getting ready to sit with plant medicine, and we wanted to create a course all about how to prepare for a plant medicine ceremony. And like I said, this is a free offering. Again, if you are interested in this, it will be available in the description or wherever you find all of those goodies. And last, or one of our last announcements, I believe, the next thing on my list in front of me is the fact that we have a so fun new segment on the Sacred Seat podcast, which I'll be very honest, I'm really stoked about. This new segment, it's called High Tea. And as you might imagine, high tea involves Alana and I partaking in a particular plant medicine friend of ours, cannabis, one of which we both hold near and dear to our hearts. And the intention of this new high tea segment on the Sacred Seat podcast is an opportunity for us to sit down and connect with our audience and answer questions that get thrown our way on the internet. It's lighthearted, it's casual, and it's comfortable, but it's definitely something that we've been enjoying, and it is out and live now. We do have a second episode of High Tea coming up shortly, so if you're interested in getting to hang out with us, sit down and partake in some lighthearted banter, by all means come and join us. It is available on our YouTube channel as well as on Spotify. Other than that, let's talk about the fact that we're going live today for the first time.
Oh my gosh, we are officially live. We did it. We made it. We are here.
This is a big step. It's a big step. I can't edit out my cuss words. That was literally one of my thoughts. I was like, I'm gonna have to tone it down. Or not, maybe. This is not a stream for children. I don't intentionally swear, but I get excited. I'm human.
Oh, it's funny. I had so much resistance to this, but I know it's good. I enjoy watching people who do go live, but I'm like, oh, like I'm doing it. Oh, that's something new for me. Okay, we're here. It's not so bad. So far, we're doing
Yeah, I
good.
hear that. So we're going live for a few reasons. We're going live because we share a lot of information in our monthly forecasts. If you are new or you haven't caught our monthly forecasts, Alana and I cover not only the astrology of the up and coming month, we discuss the gene keys, and we also tap in and do a bit. Oh, you're getting honked at.
Yes, it's a noisy street here in Mexico.
That's so funny. Yeah, so we cover astrology, we cover the gene keys, and we cover tarot. And that can be a lot of information to put into one video on the interwebs. So to be completely transparent, the algorithm does not reward people who release that amount of content in one go. So we thought it might be a nice idea to break these things up, do a forecast for astrology, for gene keys, and a tarot forecast for the month to come. Keep them separate. That way you have access to the information faster that you're looking for, and you can actually engage with us if we go live. So we'll be able to answer questions, chit chat, look into specific things, share our oh so lovely opinions with you all, and kind of just be able to connect more, which is something that Alchemia as a whole really values. We like being able to commune with you guys on this lovely internet intern space, if you will.
I love that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exciting. I also like breaking this up a little bit too, because when we do the big ones, we kind of like we talk in circles a little bit, because it's like it's all aligned. It's all kind of speaking to the same thing, but just from a different angle. So now you can kind of choose, like, what's your angle? Do you like the gene keys? Do you like astrology? Do you like tarot? You know, you can pick and watch this later once the live is finished. So it's great.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier for y'all to sift through and get the information you're actually looking for. If you don't know anything about gene keys, having to skip through or look around a YouTube video might be a little bit cumbersome. So our goal is to just make this more available for you all and give us a chance to connect with the audience, as opposed to releasing 1 2-hour long video, although it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I'd also like the past little while, the astrology, it's been a little heavy at times. And so I feel like it's funny when we do these, I'm like, I get almost a little bit of this like impending doom of what's to come. I'm like, oh, that's intense. I was thinking about it. I was like, I need some new adjectives to describe the astrology, because all that comes to mind for me is just heavy and intense.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I have no doubt. I, by all means, I would not consider myself a pro astrologer. And it's been testing me the last few months here. I'm like, wow, what is going on? What is happening in the sky? Oh, hey, gang. Wes is here. Hey, Wes.
Hey, Wes.
Hi, Michael.
From downstairs.
Awesome. So yeah, we are going to be doing these lives probably in clusters of 3. So first day, it'll be astrology. Tomorrow we'll be going live and we'll be covering the gene keys. And then the day after that, we'll be sitting down and doing some tarot. This is going to tentatively occur the week before the month coming up. So you have some time to prepare, just like watching the Weather Channel, as I like to refer to it. All right, let's just.
Yes, I love that analogy.
I feel like there's going to be a lot to cover, but that's okay. We'll just wear our gum boots with our little weather analogy.
Yeah, get our umbrellas.
I know, right? Okay.
It's actually really cute here in Mexico. A lot of people walk around with umbrellas, but like for the sun. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like that's a thing. I guess people do that.
Aw.
Oh.
Yeah, that is cute. Not the same here, especially if you're on the coast in Canada, like Vancouver. That's where I see all the umbrellas, rainy days. Let's wrap up April. Let's talk a little bit about what we all just made it through, because it was a lot. It's always been a lot. How was April for you, Alana?
Oh, yeah. She was a little bit heavy. I'm not going to lie. It went, there were some moments it went real fast, some moments it went real slow. I think overall, I'm like looking forward to the fresh new energy that's kind of coming now that we're at the end of the month. I feel like looking at some of the astrology, which we'll dive into more, feels just a little bit more, I don't know, what's the word? Maybe approachable, even though it still seems like a lot. Yeah, I'm still breathing from April, I would say.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was just a hit after hit. We had the equinox, and then we moved into eclipse season, and then we had some retrogrades and some beautifully intense conjunctions that occurred as well. So it was definitely, like we talked about in our April forecast, there was no downtime. So I can relate. I can relate. I feel you. Coming into May, though, at the end of April, I can safely say we are leaving a lot of the tension and a lot of that really intensive transformational work a little bit behind for now. I don't want to get too hopeful. I don't want to say it's going to be clear sailing, but we have a lot of shadow periods, right? Where planets kind of go back or leave their conjunctions, and it still takes us a while to find an equilibrium or for that energy to fully dissipate and move on. So it's never a clear cut, of course. It's never just like, oh, we're good now. The eclipse is over. We have a full moon in Scorpio right around, it was yesterday, right? Last night? What day is it?
It was. Yeah, it's Tuesday today.
So that was a nice little bookend on some of the more intensive transformational energies that we'd have been dealing with.
Let's just dive right into Scorpio, like just to end the month off, right?
Well, yeah, of course. We have to do another little transformational portal with Scorpio and Pluto's relationship there, and that deep dive, that full moon. Honestly, the full moon energy in Scorpio for me was really comforting in a way. It was like, hey, look, you've come a long way. The energies that you just survived, you deserve a pat on the back.
Yeah, I guess there was a little bit of that for me too. It was also like I had some really cathartic emotional releases, which was really good. It was intense, but like it feels just so good to like kind of really let go of some things that I think I've been just kind of grappling with and rolling around within my being, and so I'm feeling more free of that, which is I'm grateful for that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, going into May out of April, it's definitely that energy. We don't have eclipses. We're coming out of the retrograde for Mercury. So yay, we have some forward moving energy, and we can finally maybe leave some of those more, well, I know it's coming up, so I'm not going to say we're leaving it completely behind, but you know what I mean.
Full steam ahead.
I know, right? You're like, can we just please move on? A lot of planets end up moving in and out of Taurus this coming month. Obviously, we have the Taurus season in Gemini as well. Many personal planets aspect or go aspect the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction that just happened. So there's a lot of transformation and a lot of highlighting of the energy around there. Of course, Uranus can be a little sporadic, it adds a lot of shock value to our lives. But Jupiter is genuinely considered a benefic, right? It's more of a upbeat, surprise, lucky kind of energy, as opposed to like deep, dark, excavating your soul energy. So while we are having a lot of those personal planets, and with the sun as well aspecting the Jupiter and Uranus energy that happened, we can at least trust it to be shocking, but hopefully in a more lighthearted, positive direction. Things awesome. Like, radicalized change in our internal worlds, random, fortunate, positive experiences, but an emphasis on sudden. Uranus doesn't like to allow you to plan.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. The Virgo and not the planner in me, just like, it's like I was reading through the astrology and I was like, oh God, here we go. Like I can't plan for this. So it's just really grounding into that vibration of trust as much as possible. It's a good exercise.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a little bit on the nose too, because we do right at the beginning, obviously halfway through April, we move into Taurus season. So that's kind of where we're going to start, because that energy is bringing us from April into May. And Taurus's archetype is a fixed earth sign. Obviously, it's represented by the bull, and its planetary ruler is Venus. Taurus is also at home in the second house. So this Taurus archetype, and the fact that the sun is here, the focus is here, we're coming into Taurus season. So happy birthday to all of those Tauruses out there. It's actually my boyfriend's birthday today, so happy birthday, Mark.
Happy birthday, Mark. I totally forgot about that. I'm like really blessed that he's allowing you to spend some time with us. It's great.
Yes. We'll hang out on the weekend. Love ya. So this archetype is really consistent and it likes to plan, right? So it's funny that we have a lot of these kind of juxtapositions happening, and it seems to be on par so far with 2024's energy. Like we have been biting at the bit for that freshness, for that change, to have a clear progression happen, but there's been a lot of sticky things that have come up. I know everyone's been talking about 2024 being that abundance month, or that abundance year, sorry, especially cardinal signs after that 15-year cycle had ended. So there'd been a lot of like positive, uplifting intentions and ideas around 2024. And let's just say the first few months have not necessarily felt that way for a lot of us.
No, it definitely hasn't. I'm a cardinal sign. I'm a Libra, and it's felt a little bit like, I don't know, like I'm just kind of like like a dog going into the vet, and it's just kind of like, oh, like what's happening right now? I feel like I'm being drugged through all of this energy, and it feels new and foreign, and I think that's a part of the point. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, I hear that. Yeah, so we're getting there though. I will say, like, as of the end of April and May, we are starting to get some of that lighthearted energy. I'm giggling so much because I'm trying not to sound doom and gloom. I critique a lot of astrologers for being very, I don't know, pessimistic. But you know, you can call a spade a spade. It's been a rough beginning of the year. The pros to the season, to Taurus season, some things to look forward to when we come to this type of archetypal energy. We have a lot of planets moving into Taurus and then subsequently out of it at the end there as well. But like even Venus goes into Taurus and the Sun goes into Taurus. Venus and the Sun are moving pretty closely together right now. But Taurus, the archetype that's going to be really on the table this time of year, will be, determined, practical, steady. Really enjoys things that are comfortable, luxury, very patient, very trustworthy, a little bit more on the cautious side, and I would say very loyal, very consistent. You know, it's got that fixed energy, so it doesn't move very quickly, and it's an earth sign, so you're really doubling down on that kind of stationary energy, and that's a big change coming out of Aries.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. It's funny, there's like a part of me that's like, you know, you were talking about like the abundance here and all the shifts for 2024, and it's like a part of me's like, yeah, bring it. And then the part of me is like, okay, this is too intense. Like we need to slow it down. We need to like ground. We need some patience. We need some trust. So welcome, Taurus.
Yeah, we definitely get a bit of that flavor. Of course, to every archetype and to every season, there is two sides of that coin. Some of the things that we might have to be aware of or watch out for, I suppose, would be being overly self-indulgent, you know? Maybe lazy a little bit, sinking into something. Our habits or our patterns might become quite monotonous. We might be immovable, really stuck in our ways, which can also lead us to being rather argumentative, critical, stubborn, and of course a little bit mean-spirited when we don't want to be pushed out of our comfort zone. A little bit of spitefulness can come out with this Taurus archetype occasionally. That being said, we also have Venus in Taurus. So Taurus is getting a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and because Venus is at home in Taurus, Taurus is ruled by Venus. This is a good, happy relationship.
Yeah, and what exactly does Venus represent, just for those who don't know?
Right. So Venus's associations and kind of its archetypal goodie bag of things it rules over would be, of course, love and also abundance. But I like to clarify with both of those things. We're not talking about just romantic love. We're truly just talking about things that really light your heart on fire, things that you deeply care about, things that you also place value in. So we're not just talking about money, which Venus does have a heavy hand in controlling and influencing, but we're talking about prosperity, we're talking about abundance, we're talking about quality. Things that invoke a deep sense of care that all fall into Venus's wheelhouse, which is why Taurus has the associations that it does, right? Really liking food, or really caring about aesthetics or art or the finer things in life, or really caring about potentially things like brand names or something like that. There's a lot of stereotypes that go with Taurus, and a lot of that is tied into this Venus energy. So we're getting a huge emphasis on things. There we go. On things that make us feel good, right? It's very earthened. It's very in our body. It It can also look, especially with Venus being in Taurus, if we're looking about how we show affection and how we love people in our lives, this can be very like tactile, very physical touch, you know. Out of all of the love languages, we just really want to be with people. We want to hug, we want to cuddle, we want to lay. A lot of the time that comes up when we have Venus in Taurus as well. And anything that Venus is already associated with is a massive focus. So you might be putting some additional effort into cooking a nice meal or a loaf of bread, or caring how you look, working on aesthetics. We also have, I would say, an underlying energy of more patience towards the Venusian areas of our lives. So money, manifestation, abundance. We had Aries season that we just moved out of, and that is very quick, right? Very fiery, very sporadic. It's a cardinal, it's a fire sign, and that can have a lot of push and outward direction. Taurus, that is not the vibe, right? We want to sink into that frequency of enjoyment. We want to connect. We want to be able to just enjoy, be in pleasure, right? So there is a little bit more of patience that comes with this. It also can kind of deepen our desire for stability in general, whether that's in like our patterns in our lives or in our relationships. We can talk about nurturing connections that you have in your life, the people that you love, both romantic and then platonic, but any interpersonal dynamics. There's that nurturing, patient, tending the garden type energy that the Sun and Venus in Taurus can have a big, you know, good cosmic hug of just care and attention in that regard.
Oh, there we go.
Ooh, did you lose me?
You just like kind of like petered out at the very end there, just for like two moments.
Oh, just fading away. Just faded.
Patience, right?
Yes.
Patience.
I know. Testing out the live, getting used to everything. I think that kind of covers a bit of our Sun in Taurus and our Venus in Taurus. Obviously, it's just a big highlight on those stereotypical Taurus energies in our lives. Of course, depending on your specific birth chart, this is an overview, of course, for May, but your specific chart will show you where this is all happening, what house. So it'll show you in what area of your life you're experiencing this really intense Venusian influence or Taurian dynamic. You have the stability, the patience, the comfort, the pleasure, good food, good friends, good company, things that are striking that chord of deep care within us.
So are we looking at, if we're looking at our chart, for those who don't know, I'm not an astrology pro by any means. I use astrology, but Melanie is more the pro in the relationship that we have here.
That's a loose term, loose pro term.
Yes, loose term, but we love astrology. It's a great tool. If we are looking at our personal chart, are we looking at where Venus is in our chart? Is that kind of how we would see what area it is in our life affecting?
Yeah, you're looking for the house. In particular, because the houses in astrology will kind of give you an area of your personal life, right? So you're going to want to check your birth chart, check out where Venus is. The Sun is in Taurus right now, so it's that's how we know that everyone's going to be experiencing Taurus season. That's why it's something commonly talked about, because it's universal. When the Sun moves into a sign, that's where the Sun is. You can look at your house in your birth chart again for the specific influences of what is lighting up for you, like what house the Sun is while it's in Taurus for you. I feel like I should probably just make a video about this so that you can always reference back to checking how to check transits in your birth chart. In the meantime, until I make that video, if you YouTube how to check a transit, planetary transit in your birth chart, the whole world will open up for you.
Perfect.
I hope that makes sense. I feel like I didn't maybe explain that in the best way, but
no, that was good. That was the better explanation that I've seen, because I personally tried to look this up, and it's kind of always been kind of confusing to me. So to hear it like actually stated out is helpful.
Yeah. Find where Venus is. You're looking for the house, and then you can look up what is associated with that house. Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Or find where the Sun is, you know? Same with Mars, same with literally any planet that we talk about in this up and coming forecast. Speaking of which, Mars is moving into Aries. So it moved into Aries on around April 30th, but I wanted to mention it in this because it is definitely an energetic change that's coming into May. And this really emphasizes that forward motion that we were talking about. Thank the sweet Lord, baby Jesus.
Yes, I love that. So Mars is kind of like has to do with our goals, our movement forward, kind of like the warrior archetype. Am I wrong in that kind of assumption?
No, you're nailing it, crushing it.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mars and Aries. That seems like it's kind of like you're kind of doubling down on that fieriness there. Is it at home in Aries?
It is at home in Aries. There you go.
There we go.
She knows things. Mars is the ruler of Aries. Yeah. It's actually really interesting because Venus, so traditionally speaking, referring to the divine masculine and feminine, this is not strictly male, female. We can get into that conversation later on. And there has been discussion in the astrology community about how better to explain these archetypal energetics without using gender per se. But for the sake of this conversation, Mars is the divine masculine in the sky, and Venus is the divine feminine. Venus is is in Taurus, which it rules. And then Mars is in Aries, which it also rules. So we've got very strong feminine influences, and we also have very strong masculine influences. There is a lot of aspects that is going on right now. Like I said, we had quite a bit of a planetary conglomerate occurring in the previous couple of weeks and months. So it is going to take a while for a lot of those planets to separate and not be in direct aspect with other planets. So there is a lot of squares and trines and different relationships occurring between these planets as they cross paths and switch signs this month. So we're having a lot of it's like almost like little flashbacks. It's like, oh yeah, Uranus trine, just go and trine with some planet. I forget, sorry. Don't quote me on that. Uranus trine another planet is just like, the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction that just happened. Or we're getting like these flashbacks to intensive deconstruction that had just occurred, but they're short-lived because they're just a little aspect. They're just waving as they move past in the sky. And we're getting a lot of that. But overall, it's really nice that Venus is at home in Taurus and Mars is at home in Aries, because it just feels like this is where they ought to be. And we have that forward ease motion. So minus the aspecting relationships that are occurring, it is overall, everyone's kind of like in a good spot in the sky, and things ought to be moving forward a little bit more smoothly, especially after the retrogrades.
Yes. Forward motion in general, from the retrogrades, is going to feel really good, I'm sure. It's already felt good with a lot of them starting to come forward already.
Mm-hmm. Well, we get about it's from April 30th to about June 8th. I should start writing the dates down more specifically and not just throwing them out there. But we are getting about a whole month of Mars and Aries. So it is definitely that forward, spring energetics, like that spring fever, going to go and do stuff kind of thing. It's intense, it's direct, it's action oriented. Of course, Aries classic associations. We're just coming out of Aries season, so very bold and big energy. It definitely discourages passivity, so you're definitely going to want to make a choice. You're going to want to make some moves, things like new ventures rooted in a sense of coming from a sense of self-assuredness, because you know and you trust in your capacity. And of course, Aries always ties into being a little bit of explosive, but that's okay.
So give everybody a little grace.
Yeah, basically, you can't have great passion and great oomph to get things done without stepping on some toes. And it's a very innocent, natural part of Aries energy. I mean, it doesn't always manifest as innocent in our lives, but if we're looking at just the archetype itself, it's not necessarily malicious. That being said, you're going to want to try to tamper down that impulsivity. We do have, like I said, a few things going on in Taurus, so that can help to calm your urge to make sporadic, massive life changes. And yeah, be aware that conflict might be extra heated. In astrology, people talk about Mars or Aries being very, Mars in particular, very cutting energy, where Jupiter and Venusian and Venus have this bringing together energy. And Mars has like a not today, slice, nope, next, goodbye. So conflict can be very charged and intense.
Well, it's interesting because that is kind of like more masculine energy, and that, like, you know, masculine's the protector. It's the one that's kind of setting the boundaries and keeping safe. And yeah, then the mother archetype, the feminine, is going to be more bringing people together, like you said. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So that's all happening just coming into May. Like those transits and those things actually started in April. So like Taurus season started on April 19th. Venus is starting on April 29th in Taurus. And then Mars in Aries is on April 30th. So those are energies just coming into the month of May. In May, as we're adjusting to some of those bigger shifts, Pluto actually goes retrograde in Aquarius on May 2nd and stays retrograde for about 5 months. So Pluto is the planet of transformation, death, and rebirth. Aquarius is the sign. It is a fixed air sign at home in the 11th house and is ruled by traditionally Saturn and more recently Uranus, and it's the water bearer. This is quite a dynamic. This is something like, well, first of all, when Pluto goes retrograde, we're kind of getting a break almost. So retrograde is when a planet appears to be moving backwards in the sky from Earth's vantage point. So when Pluto is retrograde, we're actually slowing our roll when it comes to really deep death and rebirth, which honestly I'm okay with after the month that we just had or the year we've had so far.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I will take that. I kind of almost like viewed it a little bit differently. I was like, oh, if it's going retrograde, does that mean we have to go like back into our emotions, go back in time and review things? Is that like as well, or?
It could definitely play out that way. I think a retrograde is like a revisit. So if you have not done that deep transformative work, if you've been unwilling to sit and look, in particular in relationship to Aquarian things, if you've not done that deep dive, retrogrades can definitely pull it back in. It's like, oh no, you're not done here. If you have really deeply moved through something, revisiting shouldn't be a chore, right? So that's a little bit of the paradox in that dynamic. If you've walked the walk, if you've done the work, if you've been there, it hopefully is either a little bit easier for you to navigate or at least a familiar energy, something that you have dabbled with before. This isn't like, wow, I thought everything was fine in my relationship and all of a sudden it's not energy. This is like, oh, that old thing, I see you again. And Pluto's retrograde, it's a slow moving planet. It lasts for quite a long time.
Yeah, that's 5 months. That is a good chunk of time there, hey?
Yeah, so how this kind of works whenever you're doing any basic astrology overview is you're going to want to look at the main archetypes you're working with, right? So you take Aquarius and then you take Pluto and then you look where this is happening in your specific chart and you kind of meld all of those dynamics and the fact that it's retrograde, right? So Aquarius is a fixed air sign at home in the 11th house. So it might be in a different house in your chart, by the way. That's just where Aquarius rules from. And it has that Saturn and Uranus overarching ruler, planetary ruler energy. What this can look like when you kind of combine those dynamics would be having to overcome like intensity. This speaks to we're talking world stage here or internal, but balancing power dynamics, purging really deep old patterns about control and structure, and kind of coming to terms and realizing how much control or how much of a lack of control you truly have. This can speak to some really intense and really deep, like major psychological transformation and upheaval. And what I mean by that is like Aquarius is like a very intellectual sign. So it's an air sign, rules over the mind, and it's fixed. So let's talk about going in real deep. Libra, Cardinal, starting new things in the air suit. And then if you look at Aquarius, it's that fixed. We're staying here. We're sticking with the problem. We're becoming that archetype of the eccentric wizard that lives in a tower and becomes a master of one specific topic or just is willing to go down that rabbit hole. That's the Aquarian energy, as opposed to Gemini, which we actually pull in at the end of the month here. Gemini is a lot more exploratory. It's vibrant. It craves variety. It's looking because it's that mutable, right? It's kind of dissipating out. It's everywhere. It's willing to engage with all fronts. Aquarius is a lot more fixed. So we're talking some deeply ingrained psychological patterns, some really fixed ways of thinking. And we have Pluto there for a hot minute retrograde. So it's going to be slow and it's going to be deep. The planet of death and rebirth is retrograde in Aquarius, which is the harbinger of innovation. So these energies are a little bit juxtaposition. Like Aquarius is very future thinking, very, like, I don't want to say new age in the traditional sense, but very future thinking. Like they are looking forward and dreaming. They're holding the line for the utopian idealism, and Pluto is just going to upheave everything that is in there, essentially. It's going to be a long one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, that's intense. It's good though. I feel like when it is especially when you're looking at the world stage, I think as a collective, we're like kind of ready for some of this, like looking back on this stuff, bringing some of that energy of innovation, bringing some of that kind of fresh thinking back into the world, really, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to make us question how we've come to our ideals. If everybody's out there on the picket line holding a sign, Pluto in retrograde is going to be like, hey, is this your thought? Are these truly your deep beliefs? Are you in alignment with what you're advocating for, etc.? And like I said, if you've done this work and if you know thyself, you really don't have anything to be, concerned about because your ducks are in a row. But this is definitely check your ducks. Are they in a row?
Yes. Great. I love it.
But I feel like that's probably one of the more stickier dynamics that we have going on. We also have a new moon in Taurus, like I said. We had a bit of a planetary pileup, so Taurus is getting a lot of attention. New moon archetype. What do you know about the new moon, Alana? We're going to turn this into a
new
quiz.
Moon. Planting seeds.
Yeah.
Yes. Very feminine in nature, absolutely. I love working with the new moon and the full moons. That's probably my first introduction to astrology.
Yeah, totally. And that's pretty much the perfect analogy is planting seeds because it's so cyclical. New moon in Taurus happens on, I believe, May 7th. It's bringing in themes if you're wanting to work with the energies of this new moon. It's bringing in themes of self-worth, abundance, things that hold us back from experiencing self-worth and abundance as well, right? Oh, I just had a hiccup, sorry. Talks about luxury and wealth as well. And if you are wanting to plant seeds of intention, it's probably going to be the most effective if you can plant those seeds that are connected to your truest desires and nurture them and spend time tending them. You definitely have the patience and the awareness and the love to consistently nurture those intentions. So this is really good manifestation energy. It's a beautiful mix of energies that guides us to be steadfast in the pursuit of our dreams, things that truly light us up and give us life, not just superficial pursuits. Very potent manifestation stuff for sure.
Love that. I love that new moon in Taurus. It's like, it does feel like there's a depth there, that like groundingness, that earthy kind of mothery kind of energy as well. It's beautiful.
Honestly, I'm a sucker for the Taurus archetype in general.
Do you have a lot of Taurus in your chart?
I have a lot of Earth in my chart, but I have very specific, like my whole chart is ruled by Venus. So I have a lot of Venusian influences in my chart in general.
Love it.
Me too. It is nice, especially this time of year. We also have Mercury that moves into Taurus on May 15th. I promise you guys I'll get better at being more specific with dates. My bad. One day I'll get it sorted. Soon, probably not, but one day. Mercury, goes into Taurus on May 15th. This gives me, actually, when I was thinking about this gives me like thrift store energy. And I don't know why, but it gives me
I was going to say, like, I need you to explain that one for me.
Yeah, it gives me like, I got a new project. I got an idea. Let me make it. Let me work with it. Let me find something good. It's very, again, we're combining Mercury's archetype and the Taurus archetype. So Mercury is intellectual, and it is the fastest moving, and it is very quick and engaged. It's recently out of retrograde, so we've got some forward motion with our Mercury dynamic again, and it's going into Taurus. So it's very like determined and having things like really good sticking power. Like you've got that steadfastness of Taurus, and it's applied to your mental realm, so you can really think through some stuff. Something else, I was trying to think of like some personal associations that I have with Mercury and Taurus dynamics. And one of them, this might be niche, maybe you guys can relate, but you start to like have a subtle but very potentially powerful change in the way you view yourself physically. Like you find yourself a bit more attractive and you're feeling yourself more overall. You have a lot more of like of an eye and a gentleness in the mental realm for things that are pretty, and you can find the beauty in things and all of those Venusian abundance, wealth, sensuality, femininity. It comes easier to the very stereotypically masculine realm of Mercury, which is that mental realm. So it starts to soften that dynamic a little bit.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely. And you kind of start, I know, right? Like I'll lead into it. That's not my home. That's not my natal placement for Mercury at all. So I'll take what I can get when Mercury transits Taurus. It also can apply like similarly to planning and thinking of ways to maintain a certain standard of living, ways to be more effective, ways to potentially avoid work or be more efficient. Whether you're efficient or lazy is the same side, different side of the same coin. All of that comes into play with the Mercury and Taurus dynamic, especially because we have such a focus of planets in Taurus right now.
Love that. Yeah, it's a lot of Taurus energy. Like you said, all of the planets kind of came together and they've kind of just been moving, and they're going to slowly start to separate. But it is kind of a weird dynamic when you think about these forecasts. It's like, yeah, you're touching on a lot of different planets moving through these signs. So it's cool.
Totally. Yeah, planetary pileups, right? And then they have, I'm not getting into all of the aspects because this was supposed to be short and we're already at like almost an hour. But these planets, when they have pileups like that, they have many relationships referred to as aspects. So these are things like conjunct, trine, square, in opposition, and all of that speaks to the relationship, like the physical angles of these planets in the sky. And when they're all close to each other, we get a lot of things like conjuncts, and it all changes as they slowly progress. So one planet will start to trine many different planets because they're all moving. Some of the faster personal planets are moving in the same area or following each other. So that's why we get so many like themes, like so many cyclical relationships that come up. And it is one of the really incredible things, and sometimes also one of the very intense things, that they move in these patterns.
Yeah, it's very fascinating.
And then, boom, just like that, we start to leave the Taurus energy behind because Gemini season comes in. I was actually talking to my mom about this, about how there is a natural cycle that occurs from the sun, right? And that natural progression and that in tune experience we can have with the different seasons is really lovely. From Aries to Taurus to Gemini, moving through the modalities of those signs and the elements of those signs really gives us an overall experience of our areas of our lives, right? So like the physical, the mental, the emotional, we get a little bit of all of the flavors, all of the relationships. And I think it's one of the main reasons why I love studying astrology or learning more about astrology, because it's always a pursuit, to be honest. But in comes Gemini season.
Yeah, it's all just a bunch of mirrors that like kind of just fractal images of the same things repeating itself, the laws of nature. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super cool when you kind of dive in and just start to see. It's almost like I just get excited and in awe, like every time I discover something new. I'm like, oh wow, that's very cool. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing. Like, oh wow, look, it follows the same cycle. Totally. So let's talk about the archetype of Gemini in general. It's an air sign. What do you know about Gemini, Alana? Should we turn these into quizzes? Someone comment below if this should just turn me, this just me quizzing Alana.
with Alana on everything she doesn't know. Yeah, Gemini. I have my nephew is a Gemini, and all I know is he just has these like two different personalities, and like one's a little devil, and one is like the most lovable human being in the world. And it is like you never know which one you're gonna get. There's a little bit of that Jekyll and Hyde kind of energy, that two-sided, that changing of mind, like you kind of had mentioned earlier.
Totally. There's gonna be so many Geminis out there. They're gonna be so mad at you.
Hey, I love my nephew. He's the cutest little guy, I swear. But yeah.
Well,
like,
so
I also,
it's
my
this-
midheaven's in Gemini, so apparently I have Gemini in my chart too. So.
That's crazy. Yeah. I find it so funny because there's always these like stereotypes that emerge when we talk about archetypes consistently. And like, of course, like Taurus example is, oh, they're lazy and they like food. It's not a nice archetype, you know? Like,
yeah.
But also, archetypes and stereotypes exist for a reason. And Gemini, having its symbol be the twins, that two-faced dynamic it's there. Stereotypes exist for a reason. That doesn't mean you're all two-faced. That's not what I'm getting at. But that Gemini energy is very interesting. I have no Gemini placements. It's not my bag.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm definitely becoming a little bit more familiar with it these days, mostly just because of my nephew, who's like, as a toddler, I mean, we can't hide those aspects of yourself. Like, you can't make up astrology. Like, he is that way.
Yeah.
So I love like learning about it through that aspect. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so the pillars of the Gemini archetype are mutable air. It's ruled by Mercury and is at home in the 3rd house. So mutable, the modality, like I explained a little bit before, it is very... I'm trying to give an example. Like, so if Libra is cardinal air and it's like a jet stream of air, and Aquarius is fixed air, so like maybe just like ambient air, Gemini is like a fast moving or creeping fog, like exploratory air. It has this like, let me just try it out. Let me just learn. Let me just ask. Let me just engage, quick and sweet and very quick. I think the Gemini archetype, because it's ruled by Mercury, quick, very quick planet, and that mutable air and air in general, cognitive thought process is very quick, very chatty, very good at communication and expressing ideas and concepts at large. And I think that can also tie into a little bit of that double-sided coin effect, because they can be fully experiencing something and fully on board and very authentic in one expression. And then a lot of Gemini archetypal people can flip very quickly because they truly have moved on that fast. It's not necessarily fake. It's just that their experience changes and warps and shifts really quickly because they are always taking in new ideas and new concepts, and they are processing and moving on and fully embodying a completely different dynamic very quickly.
Hey, that's not a bad thing. Move on quick.
I think something to be aware of, obviously, with Gemini season is to just make sure you're being authentic. Try and pause, take a potent pause, and just check in with yourself, that internal alignment before external communication. Yeah, check your opinions, avoid gossiping, and stay in your lane socially, while also managing to enjoy a variety of life experiences. This feels like a very big shift, though, I will say, following that very grounded, earthened, fixed Earth Taurus energy. So it's an interesting transition, just like it's hard to go from, or maybe potentially shocking to go from Aries to Taurus. Going from Taurus to Gemini is just as much of a different energy that we'll be working with.
Yeah, so just soaking your comfort now so you're ready to go explore and socialize and do all the things in Gemini season.
And with that cyclical effect, when you're sitting in comfort, you start to have the opportunity for new ideas to come up, right? Because you're not in that fight or flight and survival mode. You are able to dream and ponder and contemplate, and then you can explore different ideas and communicate with them, with other people, right? We also have, of course, Venus going into Gemini as well, because the Venus and Sun are very close right now. So around May 23rd, I believe, Venus follows suit into Gemini as well. So because Venus and the Sun are so closely hanging out, we are really focusing now on things that are a lot more in the mental realm when it comes to what we find attractive, because that Venusian energy, right? And again, I'm not just talking about sex appeal, while that is also on the table. I'm just talking about like mundane interests or hobbies, even things that bring us joy. We are starting to have an intellectual pursuit. If I were to give like an example, I guess, Venus in Taurus picks up a hobby of baking cake, while Venus in Gemini might pick up a hobby and start a podcast about cake design and interviewing cake artists. It's more exploratory, more cognitive, and like sweet little tastes. Like, I'll try this and I'll try this and I'll learn this. There's a clear focus on connecting, communicating, and socializing with the Venus move into Gemini. And you can really, there's a lot of potential for some flirtation to occur as well. We'll put it on the table. Can't rule it out. It's definitely a thing. And with that, and Gemini's love of life and variety, things like jealousy might also show up on the table.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, things to be excited for. Maybe you need some flirtation in your life, and then some other things to be maybe a little aware of. I mean, we're getting close to the... Yeah, I mean, it's good. What are you going to do? Yeah. What are you going to do?
All the energies are good. Yes. It's just our mind that likes to like judge them as good and bad. So they all exist. They're all there for a reason. There's two sides to every coin. That's kind of the fun thing about astrology, is you get to see that, like get to see how these different energies can be utilized and how we can harness them kind of in a way and be prepared for what we're going to be moving through.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So
yeah, full moon
what's
too?
Up next? Yep.
Got a full moon.
But of course, full moon in Sagittarius, May 23rd. So full moons, we have that archetypal dynamic of things coming to fruition, celebratory, being able to see in the dark, as it were. Good time to frolic outside in the forest because you can see. This is also good for things like release work if you're looking to harness the full moon energy. And you're going to be focusing on Sagittarius things, right? So things like belief structures, philosophy, higher knowledge, and maybe spiritual or religious concepts at large, and really kind of stepping into personal power and authority, becoming clear on our personal missions or our directions, and discerning between what we might consider fact and fiction. This is a dynamic that you do not limit the expansive nature of your essence to conform to the comfort of others, you know? So don't dim your light. Don't dim your light energy. This is embrace your unique brand of crazy. If you're wanting to do specific release work, you could release things like self-criticism, self-doubt, and embrace and lean into that personal authority, your own crazy, your own uniqueness.
Love that. Love that. Mm-hmm. Love the empowerment aspect of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, Sagittarius has a lot of that. Like, you can dare to dream, dare to learn, dare to go, discover, you know, that spiritual spark, that push and drive for more. And it can be a call to acknowledge all that you have gone through, you know, look at your spiritual path, because that's a very Sagittarius dynamic, right? You've grown, you've made changes.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's not a sign that I've done a lot of looking into. I don't have any Sagittarius in my chart, but I do love the aspects of it.
I have quite a few friends who have who are Sagittarian in broad nature, and I have I believe Jupiter is actually at home in my chart in Sagittarius. So speaking of Jupiter moves into Gemini on May 26th, and this is a very big deal. This is probably the most intense energetic shift, not even probably, this is the most intense energetic shift that occurs in the lovely month of May, is Jupiter moving into Gemini. It will be there for an entire year. Jupiter moves out of Taurus and into Gemini after it spent a year in Taurus, sorry, is what I should say. This big shift is going to be... So Jupiter in Taurus had a big focus on comfort, right? Calm and predictability, ducks in a row, very practical. Also things like nesting and beautifying things and creating meaning in mundane dynamics. Now in Gemini, like I said before, with the flavor of the seasons changed, but this is heightened now because Jupiter is moving into Gemini as well. And we are focusing a lot more on communication, information, expression of our ideas and our concepts and our ideals, variety, learning, teaching, sharing, connecting, and community, family, and neighbors. I want to highlight specifically the community, family, and neighbors because you start to, like, this is like the third house in Gemini talks about that additional circle of people in your life, not just your family, but your best friends, and making sure that you're getting to a place, you're putting a lot of effort here, a lot of focus here. This becomes very important to you with Jupiter, right? This is a very, it's magnified, it's heightened. Jupiter, like I said, is really magnifying. It also happens to rule over luck, but this is like a really, you have a lot of motivation and drive in these directions of your life with Jupiter and Gemini. This also kind of covers like practical skills, the small things that make other things work. So while you might not be having like big information pursuits, you're not going to be, discovering Buddhism, for example. What you might be doing is really honing in on a beautiful meditation practice, right? So it's not so much of like the macro concepts that we're focusing on with Jupiter and Gemini. It's a lot more of those like practical nitty gritty things that we need to learn how to do in order to make the whole machine tick. It's very, it's going to be a fun change, but it's going to be a really big, noticeable, energetic change. And something I would say that you can look forward to is just going to be very different. I don't see this being necessarily hard or sticky or negative.
Love it. Yeah, I'll take it different. I know I'm also like, oh, but like Jupiter and Taurus hasn't been the worst, but like, yeah, also like moving forward, focusing on family, community, learning, like that sounds great. And also it seems very appropriate, kind of lining up with coming into summer too, really, right? Like we are getting out there and being more social, and yeah, that's awesome. Whole year, nice time to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think that's it. That's everything that I can think of astrologically speaking to touch on some of the big heavy hitters. Of course, I will caveat, there are things that I leave out of these astrological forecasts because that was just an hour of me regurgitating astrological information. If we got into all of the aspects, we'd be here for forever.
It's only for a month, so we don't have time for all that, really, right? So
I know. I do hope that these forecasts just provide a general overview, something that gives people a diving board to spring off of and delve into. We should also, maybe if you guys are looking for more just basic tools on astrology, let us know in the comments. Send us a message if you have any questions. I'll do my darndest to help you out. By no means am I an expert, but I do love to share my my interests, and astrology has just been so helpful.
Yeah, you're also very intuitive in nature. All the work that you do, intuitive work that you do, I think really lends itself to this process. And so, yeah, I think that you have a very unique perspective on the way that you look at this. So I always appreciate these forecasts, and I'm grateful to be here, even though I'm just kind of like a spectator. Thank you.
No, it's awesome. It's good to bounce ideas off of you. This is not fun for me if you're not here to talk to. So, yeah.
Aw, so sweet.
Well, thank you, everybody who tuned in, whether you were here for the whole time or you stopped by quickly for Alchemia's very first live stream. We are intentionally building online connection community, and in these spaces, it is just really beautiful to watch people come by, us make connections, and it's just been really affirming and wholesome. So to round out this live stream, if you missed it at the beginning, I just want to mention we do have our applications open for our Once Upon a Mushroom Return of the Inner Child retreat. That's going to be coming up in July shortly. It's getting closer.
Yeah, and it's limited to 10 seats, so you're going to want to get on that process if it's something you're considering, because it's not going to be open forever.
Mm-hmm. Our other offering right now, we have a free ceremony preparation course. It is ceremony season. I know a lot of people are planning and getting ready to go and sit in ceremony with plant medicine. So we do have a free how to prepare for a plant medicine ceremony course that is transferable to no matter what medicine you're sitting with. So there's a lot of really good information in that guy. And we do have the new segment on the Sacred Seat podcast called High Tea, which is a lot of Alana and I just discussing and waxing poetic while under the influence of cannabis and drinking lovely tea beverages. It's a lot of fun. The intention of it is just to be present, be in connection and community online here. So come and hang out with us there. And we will be going live tomorrow as well. Tomorrow, we're going to be going live and diving into the Gene Key Pulse calendar. So we will take a look at the Gene Keys, which is a synthesis by Richard Rudd, and we'll dive into the gene keys that are at play in May. Maybe we'll draw some parallels to this astrology forecast. But if you are interested in the gene keys, come hang out with us live tomorrow where we will dive into that. And the following day, we'll be going live as well. I know we're going live 3 days in a row after just figuring it out. So we're suckers for punishment. Yes, suckers for punishment and minor embarrassment. It's the sweet spot. Getting outside of your comfort zone and doing things that you don't know how to.
Yeah, rocking it over here. Love it.
Yes. So, friends, good luck. Good luck with May. I hope it serves you. I hope everything goes well. And thank you for being here. Alana, a pleasure, as always.
A pleasure to you as well. Thank you so much. And thanks to all who joined and listened.